So I did a video about frame rates, and I thought that I'd follow up that because now these two things are completely interlinked with each other, and do a video about shutter speeds and shutter angles. So let's talk about shutter speed. It's easy to understand. So on a stills camera, obviously I need to, when you press the button, you need to open the shutter and expose the film or the digital picture, digital thing, a sensor, for an amount of time, and then it allows an amount of light to hit the film or the sensor. So for example, if I'm shooting, I want to freeze time, there's someone running, I set my shutter to, I don't know, 1/1000th of a second or 1/750th, you can go a bit lower than that, and it would freeze them. Now, obviously, the lower down you go, so say I left my shutter open for let's say a 60th or 1/30th, that's letting a lot more light in. So whatever the object is, if there's any movement, it's going to blur. So you can see the longer the shutter's open and exposing, the more blurry the image is. So the shutter speed, the higher the shutter speed, so 1/2000th, 1/8000th, it's a very small amount of time being exposed. Now, so obviously to do that, to light it, you have to have a very, very fast aperture on the camera to do these kind of things. So there's a relationship for photography where, it's the faster the shutter, the more frozen the image, the longer the shutter's open, the more blurry the image. Now, if we move over to cinema and filmmaking, we don't really use shutter speed, we use a thing called shutter angle. And it's a 360 degree, it's based on a rotary shutter, 360 degree sort of spinning thing. That's how they are on film cameras. That's the technical term, spinning thing. So basically, it's slightly different. It is again about how long you expose the film for, but obviously with a limit. So a completely open shutter to get a really blurry image, your shutter speed would be 360. That's like fully open. And if you wanted to get like staccato, really staticky, sort of Saving Private Ryan on the beach type stuff, you'd have it like 45 degrees. So in the middle, because we're shooting at 24 or 25 or 30, in the middle, there's a bit that gives us like normal motion. Now, for this shutter speed also depends on another variant. Basically, the shutter speed depends on what the light source is, the electrical system is. So in America, it's 60 hertz. In the United Kingdom and Europe, I believe it's 50. Well, I know it is in England. And so you need to have a shutter speed that sort of works with whatever your electrical grid speed is. Otherwise, you get flicker off of lights. If you're outside, daylight, doesn't matter. But obviously, there's a particular one that allows you to work in all these environments. So for 25, we use 180 degrees in the United Kingdom. And for 24, we use 172.8. That's in England with 50 hertz, because otherwise you get flicker. In the US, if you're shooting 24 frames per second, you can shoot at whatever frame rate you want, because basically 60 hertz is divisible by 2, 24 is as well. So you don't need to worry over there about the frame rates. That's why whenever you hear people talking about, oh, you've got your shutter angle at 180, and so if you're a US crew coming over here and you're shooting film, just be wary, you need to have it at 172.8 in the United Kingdom because of the lighting. So yeah, so the shutter speed is very much a creative thing as well. So I mentioned Private Ryan, but you can go the other way. You can go over and make the image softer and more blurry as you let it in. Now, it does come into play quite dramatically. Again, when you sort of do slow motion, you need to change the shutter speeds again, because obviously that calculation for 172.8 at 24 in the UK only works at 24 frames. So if I change the frame rate, my flicker-free shutter speed, shutter angle changes as well. Now, it can get really confusing trying to work all this stuff out, but there's actually a really, really way to do it. It's totally free. And it's an app, and it's made by Red. They know a little bit about cameras, and it's called Red Tools. Here you go, see if that focuses. Oh, there it is. Managed to focus. Okay, and it's a free download from the App Store. And obviously it's designed for red cameras, but it's got tons of extra stuff in it that's really useful. It's got shutter speed for flicker-free video, depth of field, panning speeds and exposure when you go between lenses. It's got all the crop factors, but that's to do with red cameras. So say, for example, I'm going to do a music video in the UK, and we're shooting on film, and we want to overcrank the camera to 36 frames per second, and we're going to get the playback is going to be 140%. So they're like singing, they're miming faster to the playback. And so when we put the 36 frames per second in the timeline at 24, they'll look silky smooth. Now I need to work out what shutter speed I can use. So in the Red Tools, you're just going to flicker-free video. I'm in 50 Hertz UK. 24 is my base, so I'm going to put that to 36 on this. Type it in. Just going to type in 36 on the tools here. Hang on, slight technical hitch. 36, done. And it tells me that my two safe shutter angles to avoid flicker are 129.6 and 259.2. And if it was a shutter speed, doing speeds, it would be 1/100th and 1/50th, because it's sort of rounding them up. So there you go, it's really powerful. And obviously this works for the US as well. It's got 60 Hertz and 50 Hertz on it. So depending on what you're doing, especially with slow motion, if you're changing frame rates and you're being creative and you're doing weird and wonderful frame rates, you need to have a look at this if you're indoors, because you don't want flicker from the lighting. So that it's very, very useful. I mean, it has other tools in here. And one of the other things, obviously, when you do, I should have mentioned this potentially in when I was doing the thing about frame rates, is when you do slow motion, if you double the frame rate, you lose a stop of light. So if you go from 25 to 50, you lose a stop. You go from 50 to 100, you lose a stop of light, and so on. So when you've got your Blackmagic camera and you're setting up to do your 50p, and you punch HFR, which is a high frame rate, you'll notice the light dips. So you've got that as well to contend with. But there you go. I mean, that's a quick run round shutter speed and shutter angle. I mean, it's a creative tool, but obviously the main thing you have to be aware of is shooting under different lighting conditions and different frequencies. And that Red Tools thing, brilliant. I mean, you can carry it in your pocket, and if you have any concerns, you just type it in. You know, I'm shooting 25. I'm going to shoot, like, I don't know, 30. People shoot at 30, but they try and shoot it in the United Kingdom might be problematic. What's that like? So let's do 50 Hertz, 30 frames a second in the UK. And I've got three safe shutter speeds, 108 degrees shutter angle, 108, 216 and 324 if I was shooting indoors at that sort of speed. Anyway, I hope that jumble of information has been helpful to someone. If you've got questions, just ask them in the comments below. Oh, and like and subscribe. Thanks.